Hello and welcome to a very, very positive Rangers Review evening special after a stunning Rangers victory in the Europa League. Derek, I believe they're the first Scottish side, unfortunately, it must be said, ever to win in Seville. They're the first team to beat Seville this season at home. Nobody's been able to do it. And that means they've taken 6 points out of 6 against what inarguably people would have said at the start was the best team in the group. And it means they qualify for the last 16 of the Europa League. This is the first time, I think, that we've had this situation where Rangers have topped it and missed out on the playoff round, where teams go up against the best sides dropouts from the Champions League. I think Rangers played there against Dortmund, didn't they? So
Yes.
February is the next time Rangers will play in Europe, and it means that they'll go up against a potential list of teams. I'm just going to read out here because I think it's quite interesting. So Rangers go into the hat alongside Liverpool, West Ham, Brighton, Atalanta, Leverkusen, Villarreal and Slavia Prague. And into that playoff that Rangers won't be involved in go Freiburg, Marseille, Sparta Prague, who are obviously in the group, Sporting Lisbon, Rennes, Toulouse, Karabag, Roma, Galatasaray, Feyenoord, Young Boys, Lens, Braga, Benfica, AC Milan and Shakhtar. Now, Derek, not too many names that you would be too frightened of in that playoff round that Rangers could face. I mean, obviously, in the selection of teams that have qualified, Liverpool, top of the Premier League, not one you'd want to see. AC Milan, potentially a very good side who are obviously in an absolute group of death in the Champions League. But outside of that, a lot of teams I think Rangers would feel very confident about competing with over two legs. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I just wanted to give people the information. We'll talk about it at the end. But let's get on to this game first of all. And actually, probably the most important thing, which has been kind of chasing you, Derek, since you started at the Rangers Review. People are saying the Derek curse has been broken because it's a well-known fact that despite all your travels with the Rangers Review, and they have been extensive, I know, I've got the receipts, I've had to authorise them, Rangers have never actually won a single game. Is that right? Until tonight.
Yeah, and not just Rangers Review, even as a fan before then as well, Johnny, I've been to places. Moscow rankles with me, the Spartak game, because Alfredo Morelos had a goal chopped off wrongly in that one, and that really should have been my first win abroad. However, 10 games without a win. I didn't see that coming tonight, I've got to admit, but I thought Rangers were magnificent. They really were. To a man, I think everyone stood up, and Philippe Clement did touch on that in his press conference afterwards. He says he was really proud of the team. I know he said in the TV interview as well, the team had balls, which I thought was a good little line from him. And he's talked about grit and determination in the last few weeks about this team, and you can really see it. It's really evident now. They're fighting for each other. And like you say, Jonny, this is a team drew with Real Madrid at the weekend. No team has come to Betis and beat them this season, and no team has scored more than one goal at the stadium as well. And Rangers went up and scored twice in the first 20 minutes and then got that winning third goal as well. And I think it was just, like you say, it's a tough venue to come to, but I thought Rangers were superb tonight. I think it will do them the world of good in terms of confidence. I think it was growing ever since he's come in, and they've been building slowly and steadily. He was asked, in fact, what this result can do for the team ahead of Sunday, and it was interesting. He said that nothing for me. There is no difference because we've won against Betis. It's a different game. Of course, this will give us confidence, but we need to see now that we stay with our feet on the ground. It's a totally different game and opponent. But yeah, he's staying relatively grounded, but he would have been absolutely delighted with his team tonight, Jonny, as were the Rangers supporters, who were superb over in that far corner, sang their hearts out from the minute I walked into the stadium, and they were there long afterwards as well. Get the rendition of the John Lundstrom song was getting belted out. The Jack Butland song was getting belted out. We're on our way to Dublin was also getting belted out. So I think we need to start looking at Airbnbs and what have you, travel preparations over there, Jonny. But yeah, if they keep up that level of performance, we can look forward to that last 16 tie And I think it's March time, the last 16. I'm sure it is.
I checked it and it said February on Google, but I may be wrong.
February, March. It's a game to look forward to, isn't it? I think the draw for the last 32 is Monday. I don't think the last 16 draw takes place until a little bit later on down the line. But yeah, that's something to look forward to in the new year. And it's a big milestone, I think, this for Rangers winning the group, finishing top of the group. In that manner, I spoke to a number of Rangers fans this afternoon in the square. It was good to meet so many Rangers Review viewers and subscribers as well. It was a fantastic atmosphere in there earlier. But everyone I spoke to was they were thinking about the weekend's game more than this one. And I think we've both said on a video it's a bigger game of the two. But this will do. I mean, the players' confidence will be through the roof going into that game on Sunday now. Just a downside, we know Jose Cifuentes is missing for the next two games domestically, but he was removed at half-time because of a muscle problem, the manager said. So it wasn't tactical. I thought it may have been to give Dujon Sterling an opportunity to try and bed in ahead of Sunday in that midfield area, but it was a muscle problem which he wasn't happy about, the manager. So hopefully that's not a long-term issue. But yeah, everyone can hold their head up high tonight. They can fly. I'm sure they'll need a plane to head back to Glasgow tonight. They'll be flying. They'll be high as kites, and then bring on Sunday now.
Indeed. Now, I just want to clarify, because I've got that wrong, guys. I've been thinking when I've checked it that it was the knockout round playoffs. I'm so used to that. 15th and 22nd of February. But of course, Rangers won't be involved in that. So, Derek, the last 16 is the 7th and the 14th of March. Yeah. The quarterfinals then on the 11th and 18th of April. The semi-finals on the 2nd and 9th of May. And then the final itself in Dublin on the 22nd of May. Now, listen, I've just checked. If you're feeling bold, it's £100 for a return flight on the 23rd. You get back on the 25th to Dublin. So let us know if there's any takers on that, if there's anyone feeling really, really bold. While I've got you on, I want to thank Cammy K, who's come on as a member of our YouTube channel. Thank you, Cammy. And Duncan Smith, who's also come on. And while we're on, we've also got Cammy, who's gifted a membership for the month. So thank you very much for that, Cammy. That's fantastic. And that means that someone who snaps that up gets a month of our behind the paywall content. We do 3 different podcasts that the normal viewers of the channel don't get if you pay onto the YouTube channel. So thank you very much for all those who have taken up on that. Hopefully you're enjoying all the extra content that we do on here. We've got big plans for how we're going to expand that in the year ahead in 2024. Stay tuned for all the things that we've got planned. Derek, in terms of the actual performance, I have to say, watching at home now, first of all, a fantastic game, and Betis have got some great players. Isco can still knock the ball about, let me tell you. He's a talented wee guy. 31 years old, 5 Champions League trophies. I don't think he has to tell anyone anything about the game. He knows absolutely everything, and certainly showed it at times. Maybe not quite the physical prowess that he had back in the day, but still very much a player of immense skill and quality and capability. But Rangers were just terrific in the first half. Very, very punchy going forward. Looked so dangerous. And then in the second half, maybe 20, 25 minutes allowed Betis to come on to them. But after that period, and perhaps I think the turning point was the goal that was disallowed rightly, by the way, because it was a handball. You wouldn't have seen it perhaps as many times as I did watching it on the telly. At that point, Betis seemed to lose belief, and Rangers got another gear from somewhere. And I thought they saw the game out quite comfortably. You never really felt that they were in too much danger. But before we kind of go into that overall performance, I just want to give a word for Cyril Dessers, because I've been very critical, Derek. We've written him off. You've been very critical. You've written him off.
Don't really shy away from
that was like number 9 Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo, that moment. And I'm not overstating it with that. It was a genuinely brilliant solo goal. And people might look at it and think the finish wasn't exactly the cleanest because it comes off the keeper's leg and spins in, but he very, very clearly tried to put the ball through his legs. You could see him looking at the keeper's legs and then seeing the space, and he just squeezed it through. But it was that touch to get past the defender, just completely bamboozling him. That's what we've been looking to see from Cyril Dessers for a long time, and he certainly delivered, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I get to that, just a huge thanks to Duncan Smith, who's donated £5 to the channel. Thank you, Duncan. That's really kind of you. And James Thompson, who I met over in Thailand at Orsa a few months ago. Good man, Derry. Remember Thailand? I certainly do, James. So thank you for that. Hopefully you're well, buddy. Listen, as soon as he scored that, Jonny, that's immediately what I thought of R9. And then for those younger viewers that are tuning in, not Cristiano, we're talking about the original, the proper Ronaldo. He was that he reminded me of that when he put the ball through the legs of the goalkeeper. Tessa was just like, Jonny, perfect.
I may have oversold how good I was when I was a kid, Derek. I don't know. That maybe suggests something.
But I thought he was brilliant tonight. He was asked about Dessers tonight in the press conference, the manager. This is what he said. He says, he was asked how pleased were you with the goal that he scored, and he says, not only the goal, but the work he did. Cyril was one of the guys on the plane who I talked to with the video to improve things, and you can see he's really working hard to do the things how we want this with the striker to play. He stepped into the story. He's working hard for the team, and he's getting chances to score. Then he's getting the confidence of his teammates and coaches, so I'm pleased for him. He then said, also Sam, who had a lot of stick the last couple of months, I hear, he played a really good game as well. The past is a past. All the things that happened weeks and months ago are not important. It's about the story we're going to continue in the next weeks and months. So there you go. If you can get a tune out of Cyril Dessers and Sam Lammers, then he's a genius, Jonny. I think everyone's buying into what Philippe Clément's doing at this moment in time. Those two, I thought Cyril especially, I mean, that's his 8th goal of the season so far. Rangers are going to be relying on him and Kemar Roofe, who of course scored the winner tonight, up until the January window, at least with Danilo out for the foreseeable future. So if they can keep pitching in with goals and steer clear of injury, more so Kemar Roofe, as we all know, he's been on the treatment table more than he's been on the pitch. So if they can steer clear of injury and contribute in the games coming up, big games coming up domestically now, then that'll be fantastic. But I thought Dessers, that was his best game in a Rangers jersey tonight. There's no doubt about it.
Well, listen, talking about Kemar Roofe, Derek obviously popped up with the winning goal, and we know that he can do that. He's a poacher. He's got big moments in him. We've got a chat with him on the YouTube channel, and a chat also with Connor Goldson, who's always got plenty to say for himself, always an interesting listen. I think it's Chris. Chris has been in the mix zone talking to the players.
Yeah.
So It looks like there's plenty of content to keep you going there all night. And once you finish with us, head on over there and have a look what they've been saying, because I'm sure it'll be fantastic. Not seen it yet, obviously, because Chris has been uploading it while we've been here on the video. In terms of the defence, Derek, there was a couple of ropey moments. Ben Davies' sort of contribution to the second goal. Don't think he'll be wanting to see that again too many times. And probably if you're looking at the first and the second goal, you're saying to yourself, James Tavernier and young McCausland probably not covering themselves in glory on that right flank. But listen, they are quality players. Miranda's top class in the left flank there and up and down the whole game. And Betis are always going to penetrate and really take advantage of space. And you know, we know James Tavernier, in terms of getting up and down that flank, he's always going to leave space in behind. That's just the way he is, and he'll admit that himself. So it feels kind of churlish to focus on the small negatives for a game when Rangers have gone over and spanked the La Liga side on their own patch when no one else has beaten them this season. And I think we've just got to say what a fantastic role Philippe Clément has had in turning this team round, Derek, because when he took over, I mean, what were the expectations? If you told us at that press conference we would be sitting here with Rangers unbeaten in the last 16 of the Europa League, having won the group, given they just lost to Aris in Cyprus, be in a cup final and have clawed back points in the title race to the extent that a win against St Johnstone would cut the gap to 2 points. It's an absolute dream scenario, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not even sure he would have expected such a turnaround in fortunes. If you look back at the Aris game away, Jonny, to now, it's night and day, isn't it? He's getting a tune out of these players that we all thought dead and buried in terms of their Rangers careers, but now I think some are playing for their Ibrox futures. I'm sure some are nearing the end of their time at Ibrox, but he's worked wonders so far. He's not brought in his own players as yet, and obviously he's had injuries to deal with. It's something that has irked him in press conferences recently about being asked about players being out injured. I'm sure he would have liked more players available to him. In fact, he was asked tonight about how difficult was it and how satisfying was it about getting the better of Manuel Pellegrini, given the squad that he had at his disposal. And then he said, it's a story together, to be honest. It was not so tough, the choices. I hoped I have a much more tougher choices in the next couple of months. And he said everyone did their job to the full. They were all focused and concentrated to do what they had to do defensively, but also using the spaces we knew we could get against Betis. So hopefully we get a few players back in the coming weeks. Whether Ryan Jack is back for Sunday remains to be seen. We know we're losing Jose Cifuentes. Let's hope that injury isn't too serious.
Listen, on that, Derek, just a word on that, because there's a number of people coming in. Stuart Allison, one of them, saying Sterling and Sima were outstanding. But a word for Dujon Sterling. He's been absolutely terrific brilliant coming in the game. He looks a natural in there. And he's got such pace, Derek. I mean, that moment when he broke forward, of course, he kind of went down the right flank. And to be fair, his cross wasn't particularly good. But just the sheer power and the penetration of that run, I think it spoke volumes about his athleticism and what he's capable of. So, yeah, Aberdeen are going to be tough. They've got their own results tonight.
He plays there Sunday, Jonny, doesn't he?
He has to. And I'm just going to say that. I mean, Aberdeen have had their own result in terms of beating Eintracht Frankfurt, which is, I know it's a diminished German side, but still a very good result for them, and they'll be buoyed going into it, just as Rangers will.
Yeah.
But Sterling in there, I have absolutely no concerns about that at this moment in time, Derek. I think he's earned that slot with the way he's played. Obviously, you'd rather have Ryan Jack back. Obviously, you'd rather have Raskin in there, but whenever he's come in, he's looked uber sharp. And I think he's just very unfortunate at the moment that James Tavernier's in front of him, the one player that Rangers probably have relied upon and has been so consistent over the last however many years, 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific, and I don't have any qualms about him starting on Sunday. I thought he was good when he came on against Dundee at the weekend, albeit he was a bit rash with one of the challenges. I had my heart in my mouth just at the edge of the area at Ibrox on Saturday when he went lunging in. But he is an athlete, Jonny, and he'll provide a lot of energy.
Here's a theory on this, because Kante was a wide player. Makelele was a wide player. Now, those are the two best central defensive midfielders of my generation, no doubt about it. Both very quick, both able to cover ground, and that was what was, I think, obviously tactical discipline was another, but that was a big part of what they both did well. Maybe Dujon Sterling, while I'm not saying he's going to be Makelele or Kante, but the positive attributes that he has as a fullback or a former fullback could actually be what makes you in that role. Because, like we saw with Calvin Bassey, sometimes a player can just change a position and then explode. Yeah. I really like what I saw from him today. He's going up against a very, very good team, and I thought he looked outstanding tonight. But listen, they all did outstanding. Let's not be around the bush. You don't win 3-2 in Spain unless you've got a collective effort. The one guy, Derek, if I'm being moany and I'm trying to throw in a few moans in here because you want to be balanced, I thought Sam Lammers didn't have a great game. He had a good moment. There's Chris Jack behind you.
Cool.
Yeah, so Sam Lammers, I thought, was the one guy who maybe didn't have quite as good a game as the rest of them. He had that moment where he was very close to winning a penalty. It was a great shuffle to get past the man. He was brought down. Yeah. Apart from that, he gave the ball away a few times and just didn't have a great game.
I think what word for John Lundstrom and Bluebells or Blue says Looney turned into Ronaldinho at one point. Silky skill, skinning a player is on a different level right now. We might not have a say in keeping him if he keeps this up. Yeah, there was a bit where he dragged the ball back. I thought it was magnificent. It was back to the John Lundstrom best on earth tonight, Jonny. He loves Europa League nights, doesn't he? So I think he's been one of the most improved players under the new manager. He spoke, I think, when Joshua spoke to him in the mix zone Hampden after the Hearts game. He spoke, or was it a European game? I'm not entirely sure. Where he says that he's been a breath of fresh air, the manager, and he's really enjoying working under him. So long may that continue. And a word as well for Jack Butland, as Stuart Melvin says. Butland again, great saves. He always pops up, doesn't he, and produces top saves. I think the one, the disallowed goal, John, the initial save from him was superb. He made another save as well late on, a shot that didn't look like it was going in, but he had to stretch it at full stretch to make sure that it wasn't going to creep into the far corner. So again, he's been a top drawer signing, and hopefully he remains at Ibrox for a long period of time. There's no doubt about it. There's going to be a number of clubs sniffing about if he keeps this level of performance up.
Just a totally different level, Derek. Jack Butland. I actually think Rangers would have won the league if they'd had someone of Jack Butland's standards in the last 2 seasons. That's the level of difference that he's making. There's a very good possibility that he would have really accelerated the 2 previous teams that Rangers have had in the last 2 seasons. Because listen, Alan McGregor, as a club legend, he was absolutely incredible in the season that 55 was won. But I think if you look at the numbers, they tell you that he was a player that hit a ceiling and kind of dropped down.
Right, I'm being shocked out, Johnny. So I will need to.
You look like you're in the bowels, and you may be kept there overnight. Yeah. So I'm going to let you go, Derek, before I go into full flow. But listen, thanks for joining me, and we'll see you later, Derek. There he goes. Off he goes. I'm so enamoured with tonight's result that I just called Derek Des, which perhaps tells its own story. Maybe it's time to call it a night, but with 1,412 people on, I'm open to take a couple more questions. So if anyone's got anything for me, fire it my way, because that was an absolutely tremendous night of action. Dave Fulton's disagreeing on Sam Lammers. He said, I thought Lammers was decent tonight. Certainly one of, if not his best performances in a Rangers shirt. Dessers had a good game too. Is he starting to make his mark? Well, I think certainly Cyril Dessers would point to tonight and say, look, this is what I'm capable of. And perhaps previous games haven't shown his full potential. But that goal was something else. That showed a player that's capable of very high quality things. And I thought all round, he set up the first goal with a good bit of hold-up play as well. Created the space for Sima to rip that ball in the bottom corner of the net. I thought was another good bit of play by Dessers, and he worked his backside off for the team as well. I think one of the things that Josh said about him when he was scouting him ahead of him arriving was that he was a bit of a pressing demon. And I think we've seen that at times. He's certainly never short of work. And throughout the game, I think he can be very satisfied with his night's work. Blue Eye Boy saying, I can't believe Man United let Butland go. I can't believe it either, especially on a free. This is a guy that's clearly been undervalued by a succession of clubs. The level of goalkeeper you must have been to keep a guy like this out, based on the performances so far this season. I've said it before, I don't recall an error. I mean, everyone makes small mistakes, but I'm talking about a substantial error that has caused Rangers any kind of problem. And the amount of top drawer saves he's made is actually getting ridiculous. I'm going to have a dig into the stats and see the difference. But the uplift on where Rangers were under in previous seasons recently and where Rangers are now with this goalkeeper must be significant. Whatever he's getting paid, I'm led to believe it is a large salary befitting a player who had options in the Premier League. Rangers really did push the boat out to get Jack Butland, but he has been absolutely outstanding. Some really high praise coming in for Philippe Clement. John Lindsay saying he's the best manager since Walter Smith, without a doubt. I think he's got a good bit to go to prove that, John. He'll have to win some trophies for a start. But, he's made an unbelievable start. I think there's absolutely no doubt about that. Bluebells are Blue asking, what's the script of the WhatsApp group, Johnny? What it is, Bluebells are Blue, is that we are having to move to a channel. We are being limited by WhatsApp on the amount of people we can have on it. So we've been told that the best thing to do is close it down and open up a channel which is unlimited for the amount of people that can join. I've not set my eyes on it yet. I'm just doing what we've been told to do. So it's a bit unfortunate, not what we wanted to do, but We are being advised by the company themselves. That's what they want us to do. I'm pretty sure at the moment that the group chat or whatever that existed in it will remain. But I'm going to check that tomorrow, and I'll post an update on there as to what that's going to do. Thank you to Cammy K, who's gifted another Rangers Review membership. We do have this YouTube membership. I know we go on about subscriptions all the time, and thank you so much for all your support over the last few months with those on the website. That gives you obviously access to all our written material. But for those of you who don't like reading, and there's a few people who just prefer videos and podcasts and things like that, don't like to read their stuff, we do have a sort of subscription option here on YouTube. I can see when people are posting questions because they've got a different colour next to their name, and they will get priority to get their questions read out. You also get 3 extra videos per week on the channel, and as I've already said on this chat, there's every intention of developing our stuff for and what we're producing for the 2024. So we've got a lot of exciting plans on how we're going to do that, and I think it's going to be one that you might want to sign up for. Now, I get that if you're already signing up for the website, you might not want to do it, and vice versa, but if you want to support us a little bit more on both, then obviously that helps us to continue to deliver as much as we possibly can on the Rangers Review. So thanks for gifting that, Cam, and hopefully someone takes that up because it's there for anyone who wants it. So Denzel Merrick, Denzel's always got a good comment. He's saying, how impressed are you with Clement, Jonny? Denzel, I'm very impressed with him, and I've got to be honest, I was very impressed with him from the moment I met him. I spent a fair bit of time with him in his first week. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but to put it in context, I think his first press conference was on a Monday. I sat watching the initial press conference that went out live to everyone, which was about half an hour. Then he sat down for 10 minutes with the newspapers, and I was actually in the Sunday newspapers, which meant I got another 10 minutes with him. So all in all, I sat in his company for a fair bit of time that day, and then very quickly I was back in his company for I think it was a Europa League game, midweek game, press conference, and then another press conference after that game, and then another press conference ahead of the weekend's game. So I think I worked out at the time it was almost a couple hours I'd spent in his company in the first week, and I just thought, you know, this guy, he seems steely, he's intelligent, he's erudite, he absolutely seems like he understands the club already, and he's not going to throw out silly sound bites or kind of create headlines with anything. I think he looks like he's got a very controlled agenda, and you think if he's like that with the media, he's probably like that with the players. And the other thing about him was obviously 6'3", he's an imposing character. You want to stay on his good side, and I think that will be the case with the players as well. From what I understand, he's actually a very good man manager. He's a very approachable guy and very like funny and good to be around. So I think speaking to my colleagues in the media, the general perception of the guy is in the media is very positive, and that he seems like a very good manager. And I think, to be honest, if you're looking at what he's achieved, as I've already said, Rangers, if they win their game in hand, will have cut 5 points out of the league gap, which makes the league back in play 100%. They're in the final of the League Cup, which they play on Sunday, and they've topped the group in the Europa League and are in the last 16. I mean, what more could the guy have done? Yes, I suppose he could have. I suppose he could have beaten Aberdeen in Aberdeen, but they were pretty good in that game, and it was kind of unlucky in the end. So very, very impressed. But what else can you say, Denzel? I don't think he's really put a foot wrong, to be honest. And these players, and he kind of made a key point in talking about this tonight, is that they really look like a group. They really look together. They really look like they're fighting for one another once again. And I think that's so big, especially in the Scottish League. For all there's a bit of tactical analysis and nous required in Europe and game management and stuff, the Scottish Premiership is about grinding it out. It's about toughness. It's about resilience. It's about winning your battles. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true, and it never changes. Teams are going to sit deep. They're going to fight and scratch and claw for every single scrap of forward momentum that you could possibly try and have, and that's the truth of this league. I think Clermont gets that, and I think he's already had a taste of that in Belgium because Club Brugge are obviously a huge club over there in context of that league. Maybe there's more big clubs than there is in Scotland, where there's kind of just two. Then you've got Hearts and Hibs and Aberdeen, and then the rest are much smaller. But so he knows what it's like to be in charge of a team that everyone else wants to beat, and I think Clermont's showing that. I think he feels as well that this team is coming onto a game. He mentioned, which was a little bit unusual, I thought, after the game. He was saying teams that behave in these ways win trophies. And he was talking about the attitude. He was talking about players coming in and fighting and scratching for one another. And he's right, He's right. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out. I think Celtic showed they're a very good team against Feyenoord. It was a dead rubber in terms of the tournament, but they're going to be a challenge to overcome. There's no doubt it's not going to be a cakewalk. But he's already potentially clawed back 5 points. As I say, they need to win the game in hand. You can't take that as read. But that is a phenomenal result in the league. And then you're talking about results like this in Europe. So absolutely no doubt that he's done a terrific job indeed. There's a lot of people talking about Jack Butland. Man United offers him a deal. It was Palace that let Butland go. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely true. Man United did want him to hang around, but he would have been third choice. It's a fact. He would have been third or second choice. So he was quite right to say, I'm 30 and I've got more to give. King Rex saying he was better than De Gea and he was on 300k a week. Well, I think that's a big shout. I think David De Gea was a very good player, but perhaps the David De Gea that left Manchester United is still without a club. Maybe that's true. I certainly think while Onana is wonderful with the ball at his feet, I think that Jack Butland's a better shot stopper than him. Absolutely no doubt about it. And that, to be honest, the way Man United are playing, that's what they need, a shot stopper. So absolutely, I think no doubt Jack Butland has been absolutely terrific. Derek MacArthur saying, do you think Sima will be another Tillman or can we keep him? I'll be honest, David, I've got my reservations about Sima. When he arrived, I spoke to a few people and I think Brighton are keen to hold on to him for just now. That might have changed in the last wee while, and it might have changed by the end of the season. But I think if they were going to sell, based on the season he's having, it's going to be too expensive for Rangers. I think if Brighton want to sell him, the reason he goes to Rangers is to have a season like he has, and then they can sell him for 15 or 16 or 17 or 18 million pounds with a year left on his contract, or extend and then sell him for even more. I don't think he's really going to be affordable based on what he's doing. He's been too good, and he's getting better and better. And the guy is just so lightning quick. Any elite level team is going to want to bring someone like that in. Pace is always something that they're looking for, and Asima's got it in spades. And listen, he can be a bit raw. He can sometimes look a bit like he doesn't know what he's doing, like a bit of a headless chicken. But when you've got pace and you can finish, there's always going to be big clubs hovering about, and there's always going to be big money splashed. And I just think Rangers have done well to get the guy in for a season. I think he'll be a very, very good player. He seems like he absolutely gets it. And you've got to say, hats off to him. If Rangers can keep him, brilliant. I think that's a brilliant deal for the club and a brilliant deal to keep a player of his quality in Scottish football. But I would say I would be surprised if they could, based on the fact he's got a short time left in his contract with Brighton. And from what I've heard, I think Brighton were wanting him to develop. So we'll see how that pans out. Sky Willie saying, hi Johnny, do you think we can keep this mentality and stay consistent, whether it's Ross County or Real Betis? Well, again, there was a comment from the manager after the match, which I thought was quite interesting, where, sorry, it wasn't from the manager, actually, it was from Kemar Roof. And he said that the manager was very pronounced in saying that this was the most important match, the next match, not to think about Aberdeen, not to think ahead to a cup final, But this was the more important match in the moment. And Kemar Roofe was saying, now we can focus on Aberdeen in the cup final. And I think that's the way this manager is, because he's a winner and he's done it before. And that's absolutely huge, having a guy that knows how to do it. And the way you do it is every game is the most important game before that game, whether it's St Mirren or Ross County or Hearts or Aberdeen or Celtic or whoever it will be in the last 16. And that's how they stay consistent, and the mentality builds from game to game as you win. The more you win, the stronger your mentality. And I think that's why this guy, this manager, who, remember, has won 3 league titles in a row in Belgium, which is not to be sniffed at, has been a really, really good signing as manager for Rangers, and I think he'll continue to be. And in terms of the consistency, he completely understands what's needed. So if he's not getting it, I think he'll go out and get it. And I don't think that's going to be a problem as the season goes on. Now, we've seen in the past with Rangers teams, they've been better in Europe than in the league. I don't think this manager's going to stand for that. I absolutely don't. Stuart Murray saying, Chris Jack has been a top signing for Rangers Review, by the way. Really enjoying his punditry on here. Yes, he's been absolutely superb. If you're going to replace me with anyone, I think Chris would be quite a popular replacement. Now, some people might say just replace you with anyone because you're a pain in the backside. That I can understand too. But Chris obviously doing a great job, and I think he's having a whale of a time out there in Seville. So we'll hear from him tomorrow morning alongside Derek, I suspect. So guys, listen, I'm going to call it a day there. It's getting very late. I'm just looked up at my clock there while we're talking, and I realised that it is actually 11:45. So despite the fact we've got, I think, 1,200 people still on, I'm going to kind of call it a day now. Just one wee comment here from Dave Fulton. YouTube and website subs are well worth the money. Been a subscriber to Rangers Review for near enough 2 years, and on YouTube from the start. Plus the app is great to keep up with the articles on the go. I'm not being paid to say this, lol. Listen, that is a great point, because a lot of people don't know about our app. And it's, we've paid a lot of money to get this app up and running, and it means you've got a completely sort of ad-free, very, very user-friendly experience. All our videos are on there, all our articles are on there. Don't subscribe on the app, by the way. You can do that, but it's a little bit more expensive. So I would rather you went and took one of our deals and you subscribed to it on the website and then just signed in with your website password onto the app. So yes, that's how to do it. But thank you for that, Dave. Very nice comments. McCree 210609 saying erudite is brilliant, Pata. Thank you. I like to keep my vocabulary up to snuff, so I'm glad people are enjoying some of my big words that I throw in from time to time. And Christopher Hansen rightly saying, wrap up, Jonny, FFS. Christopher, you've got the last comment. Well done, buddy. You've got to know when it's time to call it a night, and it's definitely time. Guys, thanks very much for staying with me. Thanks very much for listening to me witter on without Derek, who is obviously the broadcasting professional, while I am a mere amateur. But I think it's been such a terrific night of football. I think we're all probably quite keen to witter on for a little bit longer than usual. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Go to bed happy, and we'll catch up with you again soon. Thanks.